Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Success Builders. Very happy to have with us today Vickie Poole. How are you doing, Vickie?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for asking and thank you for having me here.
Sure, absolute pleasure. So where are you calling in from?
I am calling in from Georgia, USA.
Ah, fantastic. The other side of the world to me, as I was saying earlier, I'm in the future.
That's why I threw in the USA.
Yeah, exactly. Some people don't know. Actually, there's another Georgia somewhere else. I'm not sure. I
I,
think it's Russia or something.
I think
Uh,
so. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I've been caught out by that before. Uh, Um, yeah. I'm sure the audience and myself, we are very interested to learn a bit more about you and your life journey, which also led to what you're currently doing today. So just open up the floor to you, and you can speak from the heart and let us know, about your life and what you do. We'd love to hear it.
All right, wonderful. Well, actually, I grew up in the hairstylist family and became a hairstylist, and I did that for many years and still do it some. And the thing that I learned being a hairstylist is how to almost change my mask for every person that came in the room so that I could communicate with them.
Yeah.
And I got so skilled at that that I completely lost touch with who I was. And it took years and years for me to decide I wanted to do something about that. And when I did that, my first thoughts were, and this is um, so cool with being on a podcast, well, it was start a podcast. Because if I started a podcast, then I would be looking at myself. I didn't actually know who I was talking to, and I could say whatever I wanted to say, and I didn't have to worry about anybody's opinion. And so in that process, I found someone who would help me with creating this podcast. I did a podcast challenge and started it. And then it was like that's where I started gaining what my voice was. But I learned very quickly that having a voice didn't necessarily mean it did a doggone thing for anybody else. And one of the things that I've always had as a fear in my life is to have leave this world and not having made a big enough difference. I had this thing where I didn't want to pass away and then nobody remember my name, nobody remember that I'd been here. And it was a very compelling thing within me. And so I decided I wanted to be a coach. I started working on being a coach years before the podcast because I had a weight issue and I became a health coach. And then I just became a transformational coach and a hypnotist. And so as I started my podcast and I started figuring out a little bit about who I was, it was like, now how can I help people with this gift of the coaching and the hypnosis and the podcast? And that's kind of how I really started changing who I was and getting in touch with me inside. And then as I was doing that, I realized that there was a lot more than just being able to get on here and talk, have my podcast and everything, because it's like you can be on Facebook and you can make posts and you can say things, but does everybody see it? No.
No.
And so then I hired a coach, and one of the things he told me is he said, Vickie, he said, you can't help anybody right now because you're not even visible. You've got to become visible. And so I began trying to figure out what that was. And as I did all of that through his tutelage, I discovered the fact that there's a way and a reason why you tell people what you do. And I don't know if I'm even rambling or not here, but if I
No, it's
am,
good.
I apologize.
No problem.
But the thing that came up, and he told me this story that really changed so much for me. And it's about being the visibility and why it's important. And so he asked me, he said, let's just say you're on a vacation and you're driving down the road and it's one of those remote areas where it's really dark late at night and there's nothing anywhere. There's no stars in the sky. There's no traffic. there's nothing. And suddenly you realize that you're hungry and you got to pee. And it's like there's no relief in sight. And then suddenly you see this billboard on the side of the road and it says, Bob's Best Barbecue and Clean Restrooms, 10 miles out, next exit. So there you go. You go down this exit, you go to Bob's Barbecue, you go in, you leave feeling so relieved because now your bladder is empty and your stomach is full. You get back on the road and you're just smiling and you're going down the way, right? All your needs are met. He said, but just imagine that Bob didn't put that billboard out. You would pass right on past that exit because
Yes,
it's
right.
10 miles out. You would never know. And then there you are, taking your life in your hands. If you pull up on the side of the road or anything and you don't know how long you have to go. He said, so basically, he said, right now you can solve people's problems, but you don't have your billboard out. So nobody can get the relief and have their needs met. And that was such an epiphany to me that all this time I had been doing what I thought I needed to do, yet my billboard wasn't out. So I was not able to see people and let them know what I was doing. So it was a very life-changing experience just having that one conversation with him.
Yeah, sometimes it just takes one thing to change our lives. We are basically either one person away, one decision away, um, or one experience away from having a breakthrough. Okay.
Yeah,
And that for you was your breakthrough. That was your one person that you met that helped you get the breakthrough. And that's pretty awesome.
yeah.
Um, so what would you say is your billboard right now? I mean, I don't imagine it's a physical billboard.
No.
So how would you describe your current billboard now?
Well, my current billboard is I've created a Facebook group, and actually one of the things that's interesting is the banner on that is a billboard with the title in there, and it's called Stand Up and Stand Out. And not only have I got the Facebook group, but I have a mentor now that is helping me with being able to figure out how to spread the word about the group more. I'm up to 530 members, I think now.
That's quite
And
good.
just a few, like couple of months ago, I was like at 150. So the group is actually growing and it's people that are interested in what I do. And so it makes me more aware that just by doing the things to let people know I'm there, they're coming and saying, I need help with this. And so it's definitely been changing for me with that. And so that's kind of how I'm getting on the podcast. That's putting my billboard out and doing lives in other people's groups or being on just on Facebook in general or Instagram, doing speaking engagements. So there's a lot of different things that I do now to get my billboard out.
That's really cool. And
Yeah.
I saw from your Facebook profile that you also help people find confidence. Is that right?
Yes, yes. Yeah, I have a client right now that that's one of the things that I'm working with him for is helping him to have the confidence with he has a physical product, and so it's the confidence of being able to work with the people that he needs to make these products and to have the confidence to put it where it needs to go and the confidence in the actual product. So I help him with that. We do hypnosis, and my hypnosis is a little bit different. I don't just do hypnosis. I have like a full coaching session, and then we use hypnosis to make it stick better, I guess is what you'd say.
Right, right. And actually, funny enough, I had a discussion with someone about hypnosis
Hmm.
and NLP, and I was interested to know if NLP and hypnosis overlap in some ways, or if it's kind of similar. Um, what would you
I,
say?
well, it's not that it's similar, it's just that you use part of NLP in hypnosis because NLP is like your words and the way you're doing that kind of thing.
Yeah,
And so it's like they're married together.
right,
It's
right.
not, they're not the same thing, but there's a piece of NLP that's in hypnosis.
Okay, very interesting. Cool. And to do hypnosis, do you have to study or get certified, or how does it work to become
You
a
should.
hypnotherapy coach? Yeah. So,
Right now, I have five different certifications because you know how us entrepreneurs are. One's never good enough. And then I'm actually studying for another one right now. And so the reason I've done so many is because each one has a different way of looking at things and getting
mm,
results. And so it helps me when I'm working with a client. I can listen to what they're telling me. I can ask them certain questions, and then I know exactly which modality of hypnosis I need to pull from to make sure I get their results.
okay, that's awesome. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Does that make
actually,
sense?
yeah, no, it makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, f for myself, I like to do different uh, courses and trainings because they all come from different perspectives, and
Mm-hmm.
you always learn that one little bit of nuance from the one
Yeah.
that you didn't really get from the other one. So it
Right.
all builds up your holistic skill set in the end of the day.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love what you're doing because in my younger years I struggled with confidence myself.
Mm.
So I had a stuttering problem in my teenage years. Um,
Okay.
when my grandfather died, and I was like age 12, going on 13, he died in our home, and it was quite traumatic. And then I developed a speech problem. I couldn't say my name, had to spell out every second word, that sort of thing. Doing speeches in high school was terrible. I'd stand up there and try and get through it and spell out half of it, and it was really horrible. Um, so yeah, I had a huge confidence problem most of my high school career. Um, and you can imagine that spilled over to dating and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I was so fortunate to meet my wife, who was very understanding, and she actually didn't mind, and she was very patient through the whole thing. And that was like what I said earlier, when you meet, you're basically one person away from a breakthrough. And through
Yeah.
having that acceptance from the one person, it helped me sort of gain the confidence and then break through and then go off into the business world and just practice speaking and speaking to clients and that sort of thing. But like, um, if I had met you back then, um, how would I have gone through your process? What would you have advised?
Well, that's hard to say right here. Because what I do is I have like some questions that I would take you through, and then I would, as I do the coaching on it, because the coaching is the mindset, and we would talk a lot about, like the experience that you had that began this whole process, and we would look at all of those things. And I would ask you questions about what you really wanted, So if you said, I'm stuttering, so what would you rather have in its place? And then we would talk about all of those. And then I would do a hypnosis session where I use your own words to talk to your subconscious mind. And the reason I use your own words, and I'm not the only one that does that, I'm not making a claim that I'm the only one,
Right, right.
but the reason to use your own words is because your subconscious mind will gravitate toward your own words. So if, like, say, for instance, if we were talking about kids in there and you talk about kids as children, and I said the word kids, your subconscious mind would suddenly say, What? There's something wrong here. That's not what I would say. And so then it would kind of come back a little bit and it wouldn't be listening as well. Or it might say, well, wait a minute, we don't want to do this. So there's a lot of things that we want to make sure that we're utilizing the way you speak and to talk to your subconscious mind.
Oh, that's quite clever. And that actually ties in with what you used to do as a hairdresser because you used to put on different masks for different people, like you said.
Yeah,
So with the hypnosis clients, you're able to now speak in the way that they speak, because you're kind of used to being a
yeah,
chameleon in that sense.
yeah,
And that that then helps to imprint on their subconscious, like you say.
yeah.
So that's very interesting. That's
Yeah,
quite
and
cool.
I've had a couple of people that I've helped with having confidence for their TED Talk. I'm not the one that helps them create the TED Talk, but they had all the anxiety about, how we do sometimes is that, am I good enough? Is this good enough? Will I be able to stand up there without sweat pouring down my face? Will I be able to remember my speech and all of those things? So I've helped, just recently, I had two people that I helped with having the confidence as they're behind the stage and as they step out on the stage to continue having that confidence and speaking slowly so that people actually lean in and listen. And then I had one woman that was, just because you were mentioning the confidence, that was suffering from, she's actually a keynote speaker. And she could speak on the stage all the time because it was rehearsed and she knew exactly what she was going to say. But put her in a networking event or have her walk off the stage and people start asking her questions, she would break out in a sweat and want to hide. And so I took her through some hypnosis to where she not only flourished when she went to a networking event, she was actually raising her hand and answering questions and asking questions. And she sat up front and she was high-fiving people and
So
communicating, where
cool.
most of the time she sat in the back of the back and the back and would break out in a sweat if anybody wanted to even ask her a question or speak to her. And so there's it's amazing when you can see the results, when they're fearful of doing something and then through hypnosis, then suddenly it's like they just have this relaxed, open feeling about something that was very fearful for them.
Well, that's such a good story. Thank you for sharing that. And yeah, I can totally see that. I mean, a lot of the times, the confidence and the lead up to that great stage performance actually happens backstage, like you said. There's all that
Hmm.
preparation, the pre-game preparation, like when
Yeah,
the athletes, before they get onto the field, they're really psyching themselves up inside the locker room, right? And
yeah,
they're getting into the mindset, they're getting into the zone, and then they run out of the through the corridor all pumped and everything like that. So,
yeah,
um, so yeah, your entrance and backstage preparation is probably like 80% of the battle won for a perfect delivery. So,
yeah.
I totally believe in that. No, that's so cool.
Yeah, and even like the athletes, they do a thing where they imagine it the way they want it to go.
Yes.
And so I help my clients to figure that out too. What do they want to imagine? And they do this like almost like a dress rehearsal in their mind
Mhm.
for a few days before the actual event, and then before they get there, and then a little bit before they step out on the stage. So it's a process of just doing that mental rehearsal and feeling that confidence inside. And one of the things, if I could advise anybody that's wanting to be a speaker, or maybe they suffer from nervousness, anxiety when they're going to talk to somebody or anything like that, is one of the things that's really interesting is that the actual feeling that you have in your body and the way it shows up, if you're nervous and anxious, is actually the exact same feeling of being excited. It's just one, it's a happy thing, and one, you're not sure, right? And
Mm.
so the only difference is the label that you're putting on it. And so what I advise my clients, and I would advise anybody that's listening to this, if you have a problem with that kind of thing, the anxiety, that just to see if you can reframe that to where it's excited. And that goes with what you're thinking about and the way you speak about it. So instead of getting behind the curtain on the stage and saying, "Oh my God, I can't believe I'm so nervous. Why am I so nervous?" You can say, "Oh, this is feeling exciting. I can't wait to get out there and share the excitement that I have." And it's just changing the way that you speak about it. And that actually changes the psychological response to the feeling that you feel, because the feeling actually, when you look at it scientifically, is the same thing.
That's really awesome. That's like reframing, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
Positive reframing, which is really good. I actually never thought of that. That's quite
Yeah.
useful. Uh, and it doesn't necessarily only have to be on stage. It can be if you're doing a podcast or if you're scared to go live on camera. Like
Yeah.
I don't enjoy going on lives, funny enough, like live on Facebook and Instagram, that sort of thing. I just I'm not sure for whatever reason, I feel more comfortable being on a podcast like this rather than just myself there talking to a screen on a live. So, next time I try that, I can be more excited and say, "Oh, this is going to be exciting. I get to tell my story."
Yeah.
So I'm going to try
Yeah.
something
Yeah,
like that. Yeah,
definitely. But
yeah.
and if you need help with that, just reach out.
Of course. I now have you in my messenger, so I can just
That's right.
I'm going to type to you the next time I do a live and say, "Hey, I'm about to go live."
Yeah, yeah. What's your advice?
Yeah, exactly. So cool. So, how long have you been doing this coaching business?
Um, I've been a coach for about 8 years now. I've
Oh,
been
wow.
a hypnotist for about three.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
And what's your background before that?
Before that, I was a hairstylist.
Oh, of course, yes.
And yeah, and basically that was what I did for almost all my life was hairstyling. Like I said, I came from a hairstyling family, so I did it even before I was old enough to be a hairstylist. And the interesting thing is that I did not want to be a hairstylist. I thought everybody in my family is a hairstylist. I want to be something different. So I did marketing, I cleaned houses, I did so many different things, thinking that that was going to be the thing that I would love to do. And then it seems like I kept coming back to the hair industry. My mom would call, she had her own salon, and she'd say, I really need somebody to come in and step in and be the receptionist today, or to be the shampoo person, or to be the assistant. Could you come in? And I would go in. And after a while, it was like, I don't know, this is kind of nice. So I went ahead and I worked as an apprentice. I went ahead and went and got a license as well through regular school and did the
Yeah.
apprenticeship and did it for over 30 years.
Wow, that's amazing. And
Yeah.
what was that pivotal moment that got you to change to mainly be doing coaching?
The main thing that got me to coaching was I had been heavy and struggling with my weight my whole life. And I was so tired of it. The yo-yo dieting, I could go on a diet and I could get really skinny, and then in no time I'd be really fat. And it was just this cycle that was killing me, right? Literally and figuratively. And so finally one day I said, okay, I've either got to make peace with being fat or I got to do something different. And so then I started searching and I found a health coaching school that was all about habit change. And I decided, okay, instead of hiring a coach, I'll become one, because I knew it was a year-long commitment. It was a very financial, for me at the time, especially, it was a big financial outlay. And I knew if I did that, I would get through it and I would do it. And if the only person it helped was me, it was well spent. But I ended up pursuing the health coaching and just have changed a little bit here and there since then.
Okay, that's an excellent story. Thank you. I always joke around and say that I don't have a six pack, I have a family pack.
I love
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So we have kids, and our little ones always say, "Fat Daddy," and I'm not even that fat.
Yeah. Well, I was sharing with one of my clients earlier today. Kids are so brutally honest that when my son was really little, I was quite heavy, and I went with him to some event that as a chaperone, and one of the little kids, and they were probably like second grade or something. She looked at me, she said, "Why are you so fat?"
Yes,
I
kids
said,
are so
"Because I
honest
eat too
sometimes.
much." And she said,
Yeah.
"Oh, okay." And then she just went off, but it was like, ugh.
Um, I also remember this one time, I was in the playground with my kids, and a girl walks up to me and said, "You look like Mr. Bean." So,
That's too
uh,
funny.
yeah, maybe more so when I don't have the beard, but yeah, I didn't have a beard back then. But yeah, that was super funny. It's like so honest, right?
Yeah, I know. Yeah. If you ever want to figure out what people really think of you, hang around with some little kids.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
As a quick way to learn how to change your image. Uh,
That's right. That's right.
no, cool. So, yeah, it's been really lovely getting to know you and your life journey. And I'd really love it if you would leave the audience with some final thoughts or piece of advice or anything that comes from your heart.
All right. Well, one of the things it's a quote that I always end my podcast with, and it is over time has really gotten to be a place in my heart. And it's the best way to predict the future is created. And so we have the power within us to change any of our external circumstances as long as we're working on the internal circumstances, whether it's in our mind through hypnosis or different processes or through your heart with spiritual study, whatever it may be. We can change what we see, but we have to change it in here first.
That's lovely. That's really beautiful. So to summarize, it's um, fix yourself from the inside out.
Yes,
You fix the
yes,
inside and
definitely.
then you fix the outside at the same time. So thank
Right.
you so much for being with us here today. And if anyone wants to reach out to Vicky, I will put all the details in the description. So we'll put your group there as well, and links to your Facebook profile and anything else that's important. So everyone, please check it out and make connection with Vicky. She's such a cool person, as you can see, and she could change your life. So
That's right.
yeah, that's exactly it. So with that, I would like to leave you with our usual ending and urge you to always dream big and build bigger. Until next time, bye.
Oh, I love that. Mwah.